So let's go over how to get this 3D printed material look with the texture and its matteness and its response to just color and light in general. So the first step actually is going to be in the image creation software of choice. Just pick a black square. Any size will do technically, but for just ease of life, I prefer to do something fairly big. So this one is 1500 by 1500. Because we're working on a toothbrush, it's a fairly small object. But I've gone as far as 3K for this. And what you'll do is we'll actually copy the black base layer. You'll go into your filters and you may already have a noise filter. In Photoshop, it's actually under the blur filter, and I believe it's under the lens blur. And under lens blur, there will be a noise tag. I don't know if Photoshop ever ended up adding just a straight up noise filter, but this software has a noise filter, and so you add it. You control the amount. Do not make it colored noise. You can, but for the express purposes of what we're doing, we're making a bump map. So I would recommend just keeping it black and white so that it's bump map readable. And just kind of pick a point that feels good. Typically what you want to see is when you come up a little closer, it should start to remind you a little bit of what you see in the texture you're trying to create. So for me, I feel like around here, it's pretty good, right? I think that's about where I had it for the other one. Let's just compare the two. I think I had it a little bit more for the other one, all right? So you're obviously going to export these, and in KeyShot, I'm going to break down kind of how this material is working. Yeah, let's leave it at 30% for now. So in KeyShot, the way material is going to work out, I'm actually going to disable this for a hot second, just so it's less distracting. So now you just have kind of just like a solid color in here. I like to use the metallic paint for 2D printed materials, even though it is technically supposed to represent a plastic. The reason for this, just on a very baseline level, is just control. I love material stacking, but I also like material stacking that makes sense. And so if I were to just stack two plastic on top of each other, I'd have to do more clicks to get to the sliders I want. Whereas because of the way this material works, it is already two materials stacked on top of each other. So I just make the clear coat feel as I want to, and I make the base metal underneath feel as I want to. So like this base metal is super rough, 0.1 coverage, and then for clear coat, it's pretty shiny, pretty high refraction index, thickness of 3, and then I can apply the bump directly. So our original material, right? You can already see that just by applying, and this is just the bump texture, right? I've applied it in, I've set it in as a box projection, and I've set it to a 0.15 width. This is just a scene thing. So depending on the scale of your scene, this will be different, right? So if you set it to 1, right, you see that it's just obviously way too big for the scene, right? You can start to see, like, when you see your cutoff point is these little black areas, right? When you start to see those, when you can still see those, you're still too big. So you want to crank it down until you stop seeing them. And that's gonna happen, if I recall correctly, for this model. It happens around like the 0.2 mark. Yeah, it starts to happen around the 0.2 mark, and once you get down to like the 0.16 marks, they're all but gone. And then I just went down to 0.15 because it was just what looked just more appropriate for the material we're trying to make. And that is essentially it for the first 3D printed material. As far as actually adding color, I just wanted to make sure that it looks good in all colors. So I made this color texture. I always thought you could preview textures somehow, but I just made a quick color texture. Nothing too fancy, nothing too crazy. Um, let me re-enable this so we can see. So I just made a quick color texture. I did it planar. And I have it set to a 2.4 scaling, so it's just big. It's very big. The image itself is actually fairly big. And the reason for this is just I didn't want any seams. Okay, I'm gonna give this a little bit more CPU because that is chugging. I don't like that. Yeah, I just didn't want seams on the toothbrush. So if you look back, or you get over here, move texture. So you can see like it's just stretch. It's just planar stretch at a slight angle, so that you don't get like those awkward striations, right? No, you know. And yeah, it covers the entire toothbrush, and that's just so you don't have seams. For materials like this, the seamlessness is just really nice. Even with the noise texture, one of the reasons why you want it to be so big is so that you don't have to deal with seams. So there is also though something else I want to show you because obviously this is not the only 3D printed texture you will ever see in your life. And it kind of, yeah, I think it'll be pretty useful for you to have some of these in your back pocket. So the first one I want to show you is actually if you take this and you break the symmetry, now you can start to actually, I want these to be a little bit bigger because you need some visibility. So I'm gonna set this to 0.2. Now I'm gonna break their scaling, and I'm gonna crank this one up to 0.7. And I might need to increase the intensity so that we can see what's happening here. I need to increase this a lot. 5. There we go. Okay, so 57 might have been a bit too much. Just go for an actual 5. It's a little closer. We can drop this to a 1. There we go. And then we can change the projection type. So what we're trying to do is, you know, that like super filamenty 3D print pattern. This is what we're trying to recreate here. And you can do all of this with the noise. So we're going to use the planar texture again. I'm going to move it, and I'm going to just pick one to align it to. So I guess, oh, I would have picked the wrong one. All right. I think if I align it to Z, no. Okay, so we'll align it to X, and I'll just rotate it down to about here. And then to make sure that these aren't like super awkward. Oh, I may have done that backwards actually. Oh, I totally did the backwards. Okay, so line this to here, and no. There we go. And let's set this like this. Looks like we're having some issues with the tiling, so let's crank this. What is it? So was that 2? 8. I'm gonna give it 12 just because I feel like there's somewhere it's going to go the wrong way. Okay. So now you have kind of like that, you know, long striation 3D printed material fill, which is another material you're going to see a lot. I'm actually going to turn off the color again here just so you can see the so you can actually see the material at work versus being distracted by the color. So let's just darken this up a little bit. Make the clear coat a little bit less reflective because that is getting to be a bit much. Probably didn't need to go that far. But yeah, so now I'm sure this material is starting to feel very familiar to you. And yeah, so this is the second method that I would keep in mind for later uses, because those types of 3D printers that result in those striations are still fairly popular. And so you will probably get a lot of use out of knowing this. And again, it all just comes down from using just a noise texture uh pretty much right out of your photo editing software. This is a very straightforward material as far as the texture goes. As far as using the metallic paint, you can pull this off with just a simple plastic. I just like this because I can make things that are a bit more nuanced and complex. You know, I can mix these two colors to get kind of just like a cool gray, and this is all just like how I gotta put it. This is all like art direction abilities, is how I would call it, where you can start to choose just like little color combinations and just kind of pull off just strange things. But like, yeah, I like the ability to just be able to make stuff like this, and so that's why I use metallic paint. You can use a plastic for it. You would just have less depth of color and materials, at least that's readily available to you. But the metallic paint is a much harder material to use, but I would still recommend it over just about any other material, even plastic, which is technically what these are made out of. But that's the beauty of 3D, of the world of 3D, not just 3D printing, 3D rendering. At the end of the day, all of these materials are doing roughly the same things, and it's just different sliders, right? Different availabilities. And so as long as you understand that, you can really turn any material into just about anything else, as long as you can access and edit the properties correctly. So you can turn painted metal into something that looks like plastic, 3D printed plastic, you know. So yeah, I hope this helps. 3D printing is one of my favorite materials to design, and it is just a super, super fun process. So yeah, take care and let me know if you have any questions and anything else you want to learn how to do.